Trump's legal counsel representative, spokeswoman, whatever, Alina Habba, went after Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I think she's going to end up regretting this because her attack was such a bizarre sort of hatred of the working class type of attack, and then AOC's response was perfect. So here's Alina Habba saying, "You serve drinks at a bar, you fool," to AOC, and then we'll look at AOC's response. If you appreciate this show, please do click the subscribe button.
I really don't see a path for them.
It's true.
I mean, Jasmine Crockett and AOC and the squad seem to be leading the intellectual thought of the Democratic Party.
What intellectual thought, Sean? The last I saw, they're dancing down the halls of Congress. I've never seen anything like this. I'm watching TikToks of crazy things. They're singing, they're dancing, they're holding beers.
Well, isn't Trump the one who y'all said was so great that he did that double jerk motion thing, and it was his dance, and everyone, oh, it's great, and the world loves it because he does this at rallies. Yes, 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 yes.
And
you didn't see me, but I
never saw anything
quotes.
like this.
I was doing quote the intellectual side of the party. And I love when AOC lectures Elon Musk about not being intelligent. I'm like, oh, she's such a genius. You know, I'm inspired by her every word.
You were in the bar. You were in a bar.
Yeah.
You were in a bar, AOC.
Well, that's the only thing she and I have in common.
To serve one.
Exactly. All right, Alina Habba.
Go put the peasants back where they belong. Well, and what is your problem with that, Alina? I thought that MAGA was the new movement of the working class, even though the entire policy agenda of Trump is going to benefit only the tip-top. Well, AOC responded with this.
For all the big talk that Republicans and the Trump administration like to flap about working people, if you actually listen carefully, every once in a while they let the mask slip about what they actually think about us. You know, just last week, President Trump's lawyer, her name is Alina Habba, she went on television, and when she actually had to be faced with explaining her job, and when she actually had to be faced with doing her job, this is what she had to say. Quote, "What intellectual thought?" And she was asked about me. Quote, "What intellectual thought? You were in a bar. You were in a bar, AOC, and not to have a drink, but to serve one." And I want you all to understand, I don't care what the song says about me, but I want you to understand that she isn't just talking about me here. She's talking about you. She's talking about all of us. Because the entire job of the president's lawyer is to speak for him. Trump hired her to speak for him. So imagine what it means for our country that the president's own lawyer cannot even conceive of a working class person being intelligent simply because of the job that they have. This woman could not even recognize the American dream if it was fed to her on a silver spoon. But understand that this kind of disdain for working people by the most powerful people in this country doesn't just come from not being raised right. It's a shorthand for Elon Musk and Donald Trump's entire political agenda and a certain ugly kind of politics, lying to and screwing over working people so that they can steal from our health care and Social Security and veterans care to pay for tax cuts for the wealthiest and bailouts for their crypto billionaire friends.
Yeah, I mean, she had a perfect response, and there's so many elements to this, because you do have that top line, what a rude kind of thing to say, But then number two is, but what does that mean about you? What you think when you walk into a bar and you see someone serving? There's no way they could be intellectual. There's no way they could be smart. Because she didn't say it wasn't specific to AOC. It was just, you worked in a bar. And so what do you think about, what is your worldview there? And I think any person who's had almost any job in their life understands how absurd that is for her to assert. And then number three, and this is the deeper part and the most consequential part of it, which is what she's saying, it really is indicative of the deeper ideological fuel for what their actions are. And so when I look at what we've been looking at in recent days, which is that if you take the tax cuts, so there's the full tax cut plan, but just how much the top 1% would benefit from the House GOP tax proposal. And then you compare that to the cuts to Medicaid and SNAP, if this was passed into law, it about is $1 trillion and $1 trillion. So it's like they're trading the $1 trillion for the richest among us for the $1 trillion in spending to people who need it, lower income folks. And that's a trade-off that I don't know how morally, I don't know how spiritually, I don't know how in any way you could justify in your head as a lawmaker. And then when you look at the visual of who just in general would be benefiting and being hurt by this proposal, it's the same phenomenon. The less you make, the more it's going to hurt. The more you make, the better it's going to be for you, to the tunes of thousands and thousands of dollars. And how do you do that? How do you think that makes any sense? Well, if this is what you think of the working class, if this is what you think of anyone who's not wealthy, then maybe that makes more sense. And it really is, there's some parts of Trumpism that are new to this era, and there's some parts of the current Republican Party that have been around for a long time and were present in the old Republican Party. And this idea that has been around for a while, that sort of like the trickle down approach, if we push a lot of wealth in the direction of the top, then that'll kind of stimulate the economy. Well, we've seen it fail. We know that it's a broken economic approach. But it comes from potentially, for some, maybe even subconsciously, that idea that if you don't have a lot of money, you must just be lazy, or you must just not be smart. It's something about you. It couldn't be a circumstance. It's you. And thus, all these programs that seek to benefit people who need it, all the programs that seek to provide for someone these circumstances that could then give them a chance at that American dream, that's a waste of money, right? If that's your ideology, it's a waste of money, which is why they're okay gutting them. When we hear someone like Elon Musk or Trump or any of these Republicans talk about how our debt problem is bad, agreed, but they will only mention spending to programs for mostly low-income Americans as the cause and not the massive tax cuts that are actually 90% of the problem. Wait. That it doesn't make sense until you understand the foundation of their ideology. All of a sudden, that does make sense if you have this sort of disdain. And I'm not saying that every person, the wording AOC used was "lets the mask slip," and that's, I think, the best articulation of it, because I don't think a lot of them even know this about themselves. I don't think they're walking around thinking, "Yeah, I hate people who aren't, of this income bracket." No. But there's a subconscious ideological, as I said, foundation there that informs the worldview that would allow you to push for the policies that strengthen the oligarchy and weaken everybody else. And just remember that when thinking about this, even if you're not benefiting from a program directly, we all benefit from a society that is able to be prosperous, where people are able to be productive and good members of communities, and other people around you who are happy and thriving allows for a stronger society for all of us. And then we have more opportunities because there are more innovative thinkers creating more businesses and more jobs. And there's more people in those jobs creating incredible things that we benefit from, and all of it. And so to invest, you can think of it, very simply in schools, for example. We see how that downstream benefits everyone. When people have a shot, they're less prone to crimes, and now you're safer in your community, etc. And I think often all Republican leaders can see is right there. Well, right there, I would have more money if we cut taxes, right? But what about the downstream effect of investing properly in the American dream? More people can achieve that and live thriving lives, and then we're all better off for it. Share your thoughts in the comments.